Music in video games is great. It's good sound, and it's better than silence, and let me check my notes. It's the thing that really ties together the game experience, emphasizes and enhances certain aspects of the game, and other analytical stuff I'm not qualified to say. Alright, listen. Let me just start this off with saying I'm not a music or sound guy. I have no experience with what makes good audio, but I can definitely appreciate something that I like. So for this entire video, expect nothing but opinions. This isn't an in-depth analysis of music in video games, but more of just acknowledging and appreciating the creativity and effort put into these songs. A lot of time and effort goes into music and sound in video games, and when it's really good, you definitely don't need to study music theory to at least say, damn, this is pretty good. So with that disclaimer aside, let me focus in on what I'm really talking about here. Good songs in video games are great. You see them everywhere, and I'm sure you already have some amazing OSTs in the back of your head that you might be hoping to see me mention. But what I'm going to focus on is how these songs are used. In particular, I'm talking about the transitions between songs, how games handle switching from one song to the next. Now, I'm sure there's a more technical or accurate term for this, but I'm going to be referring to this as dynamic music systems, since that's the phrase I've first seen and latched onto. And to those of you who know what game I'm about to start gushing over, hold on to that, I'm saving the best for last. Basically, in these dynamic music systems, I'm looking for games that go above and beyond when it comes to changing the song that's playing. More than just cut-ins and fadeaways, I'm talking about some really impressive transitions in a deliberate attempt to add on to the current song. It's pretty hard to explain what I mean, but hopefully examples help. Starting with the generic stuff, just straight up track swapping. Calling this a dynamic music system is a pretty big stretch, since it's not really what I'm thinking of. Every game, hopefully, has more than one song, so developers inevitably have to change songs for some reason. Whether it's opening a menu, entering combat, or whatever, this generic track swapping is just a matter of reaching an end goal in the simplest way possible. Play this song in this situation and play that song in that situation. One game that does this, out of a million, is Binding of Isaac. You've got different areas with different music, some combat songs, and some boss songs. Nothing really special at all, and the songs change when they need to. So, why did I pick Binding of Isaac for this example? Well, it's simple. I already had footage. That's it. It's such a boring and generic approach to music that almost any game would be a good example. This was just the easiest option for me. I already had the footage. At the very least, this generic track swapping gets the job done. It's not exactly bad, but it's the baseline. Everyone can and does do it, so it's not special. The best transitions you really see with this track swapping are transitions that don't make you say, why'd the song cut off? Binding of Isaac handles this with sound effects like boss cutscenes and doors opening to mask the switch in songs. Once again, a good idea, but a very common and generic one. Either way, I can only call this boring in so many ways, so let's get to the real stuff. Next are the games that really tie its soundtrack together, the ones where exceptional effort was put into pulling you into the experience by adding on to what's playing instead of outright switching songs for a situation. I don't really have a name for what I'm going to be talking about, but it's basically an on-the-rails dynamic music system that follows certain guidelines. Basically, songs, or certain parts of songs, fade into each other in a smooth transition. Once again, this adds on to the current song instead of just slapping in a fadeaway or stinger sound to switch songs. And from my experience, it seems like this type of system is seen in games that have certain predictable gameplay phases or triggers to help ease the transition. Let me give you some examples. Payday 2 is one of the first games that comes to mind. Each non-stealth heist track has certain phases to the song: stealth, control, anticipation, and assault. With each of these phases, the current song switches to the appropriate part of that song. What makes it so impressive is that each heist song is still a single song. Every song was purposefully made to be a smooth listening experience all the way through every phase, from beginning to end, so it never feels like a song switch, but a natural progression of the same song. But even despite these efforts, the system does break down a bit. Since the game tends to abruptly change phases based on the player's actions or the heist itself, the music needs to catch up no matter what. So in some cases, the transition is abrupt and not much can be done in smoothing out the experience. As an example of this, here's a clip of Hoxton Breakout, a heist that entirely skips the stealth, control, and anticipation phases of the track, since the heist goes straight into the assault phase.
Get ready! Now drop 'em!
Yeah, bloody wankers, you took your time, didn't you?
Get Hoxton up to the street! Get him to the safe house!
Don't know what they was thinking, but we're making a detour. I've got something in mind. Come with me!
Alright, so Payday 2 has it a bit rough. Players are unpredictable, and heists can't feel too similar to each other, or else the game becomes a drag. Music transitions in that environment, especially when song phases sound completely different, are bound to be tough to pull off. But what if the song itself were more suited to these transitions? In Metal Gear Revengeance, a similar system to that is used. Under certain conditions, during a cutscene or certain impactful moments in gameplay, a vocal version of the track kicks in. And this is really something special, since the vocals seemingly pick up where you are in the current song, as if the song were perfectly synced to your actions, knowing exactly when you'd get to that part. Take a look at this. 10 minutes into the game, Revengeance is already looking to impress you. I don't know how they do it, but man does that feel cool. Building onto the current song really adds some extra impact to what's going on. I honestly don't even know what to say, especially since I don't know how it works, except it's really goddamn good.
Very good!
Alright, and then the last example I've got of this type of music system is Plants vs. Zombies. That's right, that Plants vs. Zombies. Not a spin-off or a sequel, but the real original nostalgia-inducing Plants vs. Zombies that we all played. Now, let me get straight to the point. The game has hordes, waves, flags, whatever you call it. And when these start, a more intense version of the current song plays to really add some excitement to it. And from my memory, I thought these transitions were pretty rough, but at least in the early levels, they do a damn good job of making that transition. Look at this. And if you noticed, the game even smoothly transitions back to the normal theme when a certain number of zombies in the wave are left. Now, why am I mentioning Plants vs. Zombies? I just want to show that this isn't a new or novel idea. From a technical standpoint, this could be extremely complex, but even Plants vs. Zombies was able to pull this off extremely well. It's honestly a bit of a shame that this kind of musical build-up isn't more common. But I haven't even mentioned the hard hitter yet. The absolute best, most impressive, and completely perfect music system I've ever seen. The literal title of this video, and the reason this video exists. The dynamic music system in them's fighting herds, or TFH as I'm gonna call it, is absolutely revolutionary when it comes to its music. What the dynamic music system does is change, modify, play a different version of, or I don't know what the hell, of the current song to fit the current situation. And the most impressive part about this is that it's a fighting game. There's no phases or timers or pacing of the game for the music to rely on. It accepts the unpredictable actions of the players and appropriately responds in the music. Even better, in TFH, every character has their own instruments and styles that build onto nearly every aspect of the game.
Golly, is that fire? Don't it hurt? It is fire, and it will most certainly hurt. Hurt you. Ready?
Tianhuo winning? We've got Asian themes.
Stop trying to hit. It's over now. Like a moth to the flame. That was perfect.
Arizona winning? Blast that yeehaw shit.
Well done. Well done. You're in for a trampling. Heyo. Y'all were cruising for a hidey whooping. That was perfect.
Round 3? Shit's real.
Fight. Training's over. Now, is this the warm-up? You're in for a wallop.
Character select? Fuck, they got it too. Player 1 and 2 even add to the music in different ways. It is unbelievable how clever this thing is. Hell, the dynamic music system is so important and had so much effort put into it that the developers even made a dedicated showcase for it. Just take a look at this completely unedited footage that I'm leaving as is for journalistic reasons and not because I don't know how to incorporate this into the video.
Take your pick. Arizona.
I'll make you proud, Pa.
I am just in absolute awe of this system. I don't know how to praise it any more than just saying this is really goddamn good, over and over and over. I haven't seen anything like this before, and I'd really love to see more since it's just so amazing. Anyways, in the most abrupt and sudden transition to the conclusion, music in video games is great. When developers go above and beyond to not only make good tracks, but to also use those tracks in ingenious ways to blend it into the game, man does it make an unforgettable experience. While it isn't fit for every game and definitely not every developer's budget, man it'd be great to see more stuff like this. And while I'm sure there is someone who's unimpressed by any of this, I just want to say that I want to be unimpressed too. I want to look at dynamic music systems and call it boring and generic because it's everywhere. I want to call dynamic music the bare minimum and the baseline. I want to say dynamic music gets the job done. Because in that unimpressive world, I can only imagine how creative developers can get from there. So, in my last attempt to sound like a reasonable person instead of the crazed and rambling maniac that I actually am, music in any medium is an art, and the people who take the time to make the most out of that medium, especially in something with such a high level of interactivity like video games, really put out some amazing stuff.